Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here Monday evening. Gonna do a quick video here. I always say that. Do they always turn out to be quick? I don't know, but let's go through it. I have posted a lot of charts on X this evening about this particular candlestick over here called the Morningstar candlestick pattern. What that generally entails is there is a thick, well, first of all, there's a downtrend and it's followed by a thick, big red candle, followed by an indecision candle. Usually the body is small. It can either be green or it can be red, doesn't really matter. But the body is really small. It can even be a doji candle, which quite often it is. Basically just saying like there's not much of a body here at all. Followed by a trend reversal. This is generally a pretty powerful pattern that happens with a downtrend showing signs for a reversal. This pattern generally works out about like 60 to 70% of the time. There's no candlestick pattern that actually works 100% of the time. It just doesn't exist. But it does increase your probability in terms of what you're seeing here. Now, I did end up picking initially a few Bitcoin miners with this pattern on the monthly chart. But then the more I look at it, the more I'm really seeing across the board here. Now, I'm going to just start with the indexes here. S&P 500 has an indecision candle with a doji, with a red here and a green here. This basically completes this whole morning star pattern from a very, very short-term downtrend. This basically points up to the potential for to go up from there. When was the last time I saw SPY or SPY having a pattern like that? Well, it was over here back in September, October, and November. Very decent morning star pattern over here. I think this pattern is actually more powerful than that because we have a big giant wick down here below, grab a lot of liquidity below, and test a lot of demand underneath. But even here, you have a morning star here that seemed to have worked out pretty well. Before that, I don't think this is like a beautiful morning star or anything by any means, but it kind of worked out here. You do have a morning star pattern over here. It kind of worked out. So these things can be seen throughout history to have worked out over and over again. And if you also look at the QQQ, you also can see a Morningstar pattern over here that have worked out pretty decent. You also have a Morningstar pattern that's being built up right here, right? Big giant red indecision candle, but the big giant wick down below, it's like a hammer bottom kind of thing, followed by a green candle over here. Pretty much a pretty decent Morningstar pattern. And I was just kind of looking for history here. Yeah, here's one. I'm not sure that's one that I would say it is. This is a Morningstar pattern over there, and they're generally pretty decent bottom or trend reversal that you see. Here's another, Morningstar pattern here that did end up causing a pretty decent trend reversal here. So it's there. IWM, you see it. There's another Morningstar pattern here. Now, IWM, if you look back into history here, I'm trying to spot some here. This is a pretty decent Morningstar pattern here that led to a pretty big uptrend after that. This is a pretty decent Morningstar pattern here that led to a pretty decent uptrend after that, right? So these patterns exist over and over again. ARK also has a Morningstar pattern right here, and I think it's probably going to work out pretty well. I was looking to see what other things also have this pattern, and it's really across the board. If you just look at Bitcoin, and if you look at Bitcoin by itself, you can see that last month from February, March, and April, you have a Morningstar pattern here that has pretty decent follow through here so far for the month of May, right? It's flipping pretty bullish over here. Ethereum is a pretty decent Morningstar pattern over here. Last time we had a Morningstar pattern was over here. That worked out pretty well, right? So I think we're basically seeing a very similar pattern over here as we did over here. And the time before that, this is kind of Morningstar pattern over here too. That worked out pretty decent. So I gotta say, I'm seeing, like, and this is like an evening star. This is like the counter version of that green indecision red candle, right? Led to a downtrend. This looks like it really wants to flip bullish over here. Now, I know that Ethereum is running into a lot of resistance here, including Ichimoku, including the Tengen Kitchen here on the monthly and whatnot, but this looks like a pretty decent reversal candle here or pattern here that is potentially going to work out. Doge, you see the same thing, right? Nice Morningstar pattern over here. Outside of crypto, you can also see the crypto-related stocks, which include not so much Mara, CleanSpark, not so much Cypher, not so much Bitfarms, but Iron has a beautiful Morningstar pattern. Wolf has a beautiful Morningstar pattern. BTBT has a beautiful pattern. Riot has a beautiful pattern. You also see Riot had the same pattern over here that led to a reversal last time, right? HUT, a very beautiful pattern here, right? And you can also see that with BitDeer, beautiful pattern over here too. So it's across different miners here as well that has been severely kind of beaten down. What other stocks that I really picked up on? I picked up on Shopify. This is a really beautiful Morningstar pattern with a very, very nice, almost like a dragonfly doji candle kind of thing over here, right? You also see it from some other fintech stock like Shift4 Payments. I was able to pick that up here. And also PayPal. PayPal also has a pretty decent Morningstar pattern over here, suggesting reversal of this downtrend here soon as well. Now, in addition to all that, I also see a lot of the tech names, cloud names and things like that. I see it in Cloudflare, pretty decent. You have a big giant wake up here and you have like a short-term downtrend, but now you're building a Morningstar pattern over here, right? I also see that on Datadog, Morningstar pattern with a hammer bottom, right? Twilio, you see that very beautiful Morningstar pattern over here. The Trade Desk, TTD, you see the very similar pattern over here too, right? Signifying a pretty decent reversal that is, most likely gonna end up happening. Now, in addition to all these stocks over here, if you also look at the big tech, I'm talking about the big tech here. If you go and take a look at, let's say, NVIDIA, you can see there is a Morningstar pattern right there too, right? Meta, Morningstar pattern, right? Amazon, Morningstar pattern. CRM, Morningstar pattern. Adobe, Morningstar pattern, right? So all these things are kind of happening all across big caps, large caps, small caps. I just show you IWM is basically showing you a very, very similar pattern, right? And also the even like ARK, I think it's kind of building a very similar pattern. It's not as beautiful, but it's building a very, very similar pattern. Financials, XLF, right? Same thing. You're building basically, it's not so much a reversal pattern, but big giant wick down below, more or less a Morningstar pattern over here. XLI, which is the industrials, building a big giant Morningstar pattern over here. It's happening across the board. Let's look and see what happened overseas now, shall we? Let's look at the Nikkei index, basically from Japan. You see the same pattern here, right? Doji, down candle, doji. This is a dragonfly candle over here. There's a beautiful reversal pattern. Nikkei is going to go up a lot higher, right? Morningstar pattern is building up over here too. You can see it across the board from crypto, from stocks, from crypto-related stocks, large caps, small caps, foreign, and domestic. It's happening all across the board. Now, how likely is this pattern going to play out to be a pretty significant bullish reversal? Again, if you look at history, usually these things work out about 60 or 70% of the time. But in combination, a lot of times you have these kind of hammer bottom candle or dragonfly candle. These things are generally pretty powerful, and they really usually set up a pretty powerful bottom, especially if you're looking at a higher time frame. Because of that, I lean bullish moving forward, no matter how much macroeconomic scariness are out there. These formations are really looking pretty bullish. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to rug pull you. It doesn't mean there's not going to be any short-term volatility. It doesn't mean that they're not going to end up having, let's say, for example, the SPY weekly chart filling the gap down here. That's entirely possible. QQQ filling the gap down here. IWM filling the gap down here. ARK filling the gap down here. These things possible on the weekly chart. Yeah, and usually weekly chart for these different indexes and large ETFs, they don't really like to leave a weekly gap open. This is going to close this week, next month, next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I do not know. I think this gap eventually is going to close. I think the last weekly gap for like SPY it dates all the way back to like the 1970s. So the rest of the gaps got filled, so unlikely this gap would be open. I just don't know when it's going to get filled. Regardless, if you look at the monthly time frame, this looks like a beautiful reversal pattern. It wants to keep going up higher, but it doesn't rule out any potential short-term volatility. It doesn't rule out any short-term shenanigans and whatnot. But I'm spotting these pretty decent morning star patterns all across, and I just want to share that with you. Whatever you decide to do with this information, it's completely up to you. But I do feel like we are more or less completing a bullish reversal across the board here. Now, one more thing to consider. Today is May 19th. That means we have another week and a half of trading before the month closes, before the monthly candle closes. A lot of things can change. It can go up a lot higher, or it can actually reverse back down and maybe diminishing a lot of these kinds of morning star pattern over here. I don't know yet. All I'm saying is I'm seeing what I'm seeing here on May 19th, about 10, 11 days before these monthly candle closes. And so far I'm seeing some pretty promising sign of a pretty prominent reversal pattern, which again, we call it the morning star candlestick pattern. That's all I wanted to say today. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. If you enjoy my analysis, if you like to hear more of these videos, if you also like my friend Danny's charts, again, on the weekends, I usually do about 4 or 5 videos exclusively for his Patreon. If you want to join his Patreon to listen to those videos, you're more than welcome to do that. If not, that's fine. I'll keep making free videos here throughout the week, and hopefully you enjoy it. Tomorrow evening, I think around 7:30 Eastern, I do plan on maybe having another triumphant live stream with the Great Mass B and the Tesla Tracker. So we'll see whether or not we can make that happen. And if it does, it's going to be live streamed on the Triumphant channel. Guys, take care. Have a good night. Bye.